I have Sakaja Johnson, Chairman TNA, and I have George Kegoro, Executive Director, ICG Kenya Chapter. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me this evening. Before we go on with this discussion, let's listen in to a little bit of what the President had to say this afternoon.
It is for this reason that I chose not to put the sovereignty of more than 40 million Kenyans on trial, since their democratic will should never be subject to another jurisdiction. Therefore, let it not be said that I am attending the status conference as the President of the Republic of Kenya. Nothing in my position or my deeds as President warrants my being in court.
Article 147 now takes effect. Elisha, let me begin with you and pick on a legal mind. What are your thoughts on what the President has done today?
This may sound surprising, Linda. There's nothing novel about what the President has done today. With all due respect, Article 147 is self-speaking, as well with Article 134, that any time the President is absent, the Deputy President shall act. And therefore, the Deputy President does not begin to act because the President has donated that authority to him. The Deputy President acts by operation of law through the instrument of the absence of the President from the Republic of Kenya. So if you asked me, this is not the first time, this is not historic. The President has been absent from this country oftentimes. And by operation of law, the Deputy President acts as President, unless, of course, it be said that there has been a lacuna within the corridors of power, and that has left a vacuum at that regard. But what the people of Kenya said on 4th of August 2010, as executed on the 27th of August 2010, was that in the absence of the President in the country, the Deputy President shall act. There's a mandatory directive by Article 147 of the Constitution.
Is that why at some point the President said, na wajue kama mimi siko, kama Ruto hayuko, mimi lazima nikue nchini?
That is exactly why you remember when Ruto made his own application for excusal, it was premised on the argument that the President and the Deputy cannot be absent from the country simultaneously. I want to believe that there was a clear understanding then that Article 147 created an obligation that in the absence of the President, the Deputy President shall act in that office.
Sakaja, do you agree there's nothing significant that warranted newsworthy to put it in his words that happened today?
First of all, I'd like to congratulate the President for a very bold move, which has set a great precedent. What the President has done was not expected from many quarters. What he's done has shown a lot of selflessness, because he has decided to go to the ICC without cowering behind the veil of the presidency. And he has decided to safeguard, as the Constitution demands from him, the sovereignty of this country by going there as a private citizen. From what Elisha Ngoe is saying, that Article 147 talks about when the President is absent, then there's nothing special. I think, and of course I'm not to teach him, he's a lawyer, but there are three situations that are envisaged in that 147. When the President is absent, when the President is incapacitated, for example, if he falls severely ill, yes, or when the President decides, whenever he decides, if he makes the decision, you need to know that when the President goes and travels out of this country, when he goes to the UN General Assembly and the Deputy President is here, the President is still at the UN General Assembly acting as the President, doing presidential duties, performing those duties on behalf of the country. And so all of his duties that are in the Constitution are still his to perform, being the head of state, being the head of government, being the commander-in-chief, being able to declare war, etc. But when you look at Article 147, it is provided for special circumstances when somebody else can actually be the commander-in-chief, when somebody else can actually declare war and play those other roles, apart from a few things, apart from appointing judges of the
we look
courts.
at the exceptions.
Yes. So if it was just the natural cause that the President is not there, which is what is being invoked at this point, then the Constitution would have stopped at the Deputy President is the assistant of the President, and the President shall give him those duties. Okay, but the Constitution is very clear that if he decides so, then all of his roles, apart from just a few, are then played by the Deputy President, and you never have a situation where two people are acting as President at the same time.
Kegoro, he says the President did not choose to hide behind the veil of presidency. What are your thoughts on what he did today?
I think the president cannot hide behind the veil of presidency in the first place. The constitution is very clear that the fact of being president does not shield anybody from answering to crimes if those crimes are offenses under treaty that Kenya is party to, and the treaty does not excuse the president, does not recognize presidential immunity. So the Constitution of Kenya already does not shield anybody, including the president, from crimes committed or allegedly committed in accordance with a treaty to which Kenya is a party, if that treaty does not provide for immunity. So it needs to be clear that what the president has done, it is of course an extremely responsible act on his part, because other presidents like President Bashir have acted differently given the same exactly the same circumstances. So I agree with Johnson Sakaja that the president has acted responsibly, but it isn't any less than what the constitution expected the president to do. If the president had acted in any other way, it would have been extremely irresponsible on his part. So I think on the one hand, it is to be said the president has acted correctly, and the congratulations are in order to the president. But on the other hand, it is the least the president could have done under the circumstances.
Yeah, in fact, I agree with my colleagues to that extent, only that I don't see why they would congratulate somebody. I mean, if I'm arrested on the streets
You're
for
really having an
overspeeding,
issue with
I
this,
have
Elisha.
no, I mean, I'm what I hate, I don't like, rather, is creating, an abnormal situation out of the logical cause of things. When you are an accused person before any court, and the court summons you, you have to go. The act of going is not your decision, as my colleague Mr. Sakaja would want us to believe. You know that the president is acting altruistically by deciding. An accused person has an obligation to attend court. I think I said in this studio previously that the president is an accused person before the ICC. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta is an accused person before the ICC. He has a duty to go. If he doesn't go, there are sanctions available in criminal law, both at the international level and at the municipal level. Courts have a power against any person who is accused and who wishes away a court summons. Courts will issue warrants for your arrest. That is the point that I make. So there's nothing altruistic that will say congratulations for, we congratulate people for an achievement. We don't congratulate people for engaging in the ordinary course of events. I trust you. Get
I think
my point of departure.
Elisha might be deciding, might have decided to be a bit dishonest. What I've said is Article 147 gives 3 scenarios of when the deputy president acts as president. 1, if the president is absent. 2, if the president is incapacitated. Or 3, if the president decides. That is in the law.
I agree entirely.
Now, the issue of honoring the summons or not is, the clarity or what the point that has been made. The person accused at the ICC is Uhuru Kenyatta, not the president of Kenya.
Right.
If Uhuru Kenyatta goes while holding the responsibility of the president of Kenya, then there is a notion that he's going there as the president, and the sovereignty of our country being, first of all, having the ignominy of being the first country where a head of state is at the ICC, then that is, it does not arise at this point. In fact, the president of Kenya is not going to the ICC. Mr. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta is going to the ICC. That is the difference that has been made today, and that's why I'm saying it's very brave. Many people may not have expected them to go. It's a decision. I mean, you can decide to commit a crime, and once you decide, you'll face the consequences. You can decide to overspeed, even though there is a law. He could have decided not to go, pretending, or rather he could decide not to go because he is, we'll say the country is sovereign, and as Uhuru Kenyatta, he could have decided. We've seen other presidents.
I'm a criminal law practitioner,
yes,
and I see very many accused persons in court every morning. If you go to Kibera tomorrow morning, the number of people you see turning up in Kibera are very many. If that is an act of bravery, that those people have turned up at Kibera tomorrow, the term bravery needs to be redefined. I have said before, and I will say now, that the president's going to The Hague is what is logically expected of a accused person. But let me point out something here, because Mr. Sakaja has made it an issue, that the president goes to the Hague in his personal capacity as an accused person.
Yes.
Once the person, which I agree with, once the person of Uhuru Kenyatta leaves Kenya to go to the Hague, the person of the president is absent from the Republic of Kenya. And Article 147 automatically moves in by operation of law. The president is absent. It's by virtue of that act of the person of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta going to the Hague, the president is absent from the coterminous boundaries of the Republic of Kenya. Article 147 moves in automatically. I think there is no disagreement on the cause of things. The interpretation that then he wants to interpret as if that the two scenarios as pointed out are mutually exclusive. They are not mutually exclusive. By virtue of that departure.
Okay, Sakaja, hold
They
on.
are,
Sakaja, hold
they are
on.
mutually exclusive. Let me just ask a question. Is there one time envisaged in the Constitution that two people at the same time have the power or authority to declare war? It does not exist.
That is correct.
He cannot. But the president, even if he's in the US, can declare war from there as president of Kenya.
All
Because he still holds that power. But now what he has done is that he has given that authority and mandate to the deputy president.
deputy.
You cannot
Kegoro,
dismiss
let me bring you into this conversation. What material difference do you think this now makes? Because he may have used Article 147 and says, I'm going there as an individual. But let's face it, the public opinion will always view him as the president of the Republic of Kenya. Does it make a difference? What material difference then does this make?
No, it doesn't make any material difference, with great respect. There would have been very material difference if other decisions had been made at other times. There have been opportunities for decisions to be made at other times. For example, going into the elections, it was known that Uhuru Kenyatta faced charges before the ICC, that attending to which could potentially conflict with the position of president if he got
But
elected.
he made it clear. He said it was a
conflict.
personal
Yes,
issue.
so I'm saying there could, if other decisions had been made at that time, for example, a decision not to run for president, or a decision, or having run for president and having been declared president, if a decision was made now that he wants to concentrate on his case and is resigning from the position of president rather than handing over power for a day or two, then it would make a material difference. The answer, therefore, is that actually there's no material difference. It is just if he hands over power, as he has done, he will be back in power on Friday or thereabouts when he's back in the country.
There is no president of Kenya who will ever sit at the dock or be present at the ICC. That is the point we have made. I think George Kigoro
That is the same thing that the African Union made clear.
Yes, and many of his colleagues in civil society, towards the run-up to the election, did not want Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto to vie, and they said it publicly because of that case. And we know that from the beginning, that case has owners. It has owners here, it has owners internationally, and those owners did not. It's a political case, how we look at it, and it has become very, very clear. Now, the AU in October last year gave a very clear resolution that no head of state should actually go. Any case should not be commenced or continued against a sitting head of state. And what we've been able to do in consultation also with the AU is to honor that resolution that they have made, and the person who has gone to the ICC is not going as a president of any country.
All right, hold on, Sakaja. Just hold on. We need to take a short break, but when we come back, we look at the options that were available for President Uhuru Kenyatta and where this now leaves the country. Thank you for staying with KTN. We're looking at the implications of the decision that was made today by President Uhuru Kenyatta, effectively making his deputy William Ruto the president of the Republic of Kenya in an acting capacity. This discussion continues in a few minutes. Stay with us.